Larry Gatlin.
Thank you, Joe.
You betcha.
God bless. Good to see you. Hi, I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm a real one. I ain't kidding you. I tell people you do not have to be full of crap to be in show business, but it really helps. So on occasion, I get a little more full of crap, and I get a little wordy. So please permit me, humor me. My wife, Janice, by the way, people who know me, I tell them she is either made out of asbestos or Teflon or Kevlar or something, because she is a tough broad. I ain't kidding you. And I adore her, and the quintessential example of unconditional love, and only slightly probably tied with her, Doc. Huh? Doc. Over the last 2 years, I have more than on a few occasions been asked about a section in. Have any of you read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights? Anybody? It is a great read. He is not just some pretty. The man can write. He has read. He can write. So I've been asked about page 274 and a little bit of 275. It's called Turn the Page. So this is Matthew from his book. And I'll be a little show business, John. Maybe you want to do a movie about me or something. Hey, why not? I mean, All right, turn the page. The late and great University of Texas football coach Darrell Royal was a friend of mine and a good friend to many. A lot of people looked up to him. One was a musician whom I'll just call Larry. Thanks, man. I thought it was an anonymous program. Anyway, Larry was in the prime of his country music career, had #1 hits, and his life was rolling. He had picked up a habit snorting the white stuff somewhere along the line, and at one particular party after a bathroom break, Larry strode up to his mentor, Darrell, Coach Darrell Royal, and started telling Coach a story. Coach listened as always, and when Larry finished his story and was about to walk away, Coach put a gentle hand on his shoulder and discreetly said, "Larry, you got something on your nose there, bud." Larry immediately hurried to the bathroom mirror where he saw some white powder he hadn't cleaned off. He was ashamed, embarrassed, partly because he felt so disrespectful to Coach Royal, but mainly because he'd obviously gotten too comfortable with the drug to even hide it as well as he should. Well, the next day, Larry went to Coach's house and rang the doorbell. Coach answered, and Larry said, "Coach, I need to talk to you." Darrell welcomed him in. Larry confessed. He purged his sins to Coach. He told him how embarrassed he was and how he'd lost his way in the midst of all the fame and fortune. Toward the end of an hour, Larry, now in tears, asked Coach, "What do you think I should do?" Now, Coach, being a man of few words, said simply, "Larry, I've never had any trouble turning the page in the book of my life." Larry got sober that day and has been sober for 46 years. End of story. Well, as y'all know, Texans will put a little hair on a story when we get a chance, And Matthew put a little hair on, but that's basically what happened. It isn't 46 years, it's 37, 8, thank God. And it wasn't the next day, and I didn't do it on my own. What happened was simply this. Fellas, what would we do without the strong, intelligent, beautiful, indestructible women in our lives? Huh? Just think. Wives, mothers, friends, school teachers. Well, Coach Darrell Royal had one of those too. Her name was Edith. And she also was made out of Teflon and asbestos and Kevlar. Well, when all this happened at that golf tournament that night that Matthew was talking about, Edith told Darrell. Darrell told her about the situation. She told him, she said, "Go scoop him up. Take him to treatment." Notice she did not say, "Send him to treatment." She said, "Take him to treatment." So, a couple of weeks later, after I realized that, this was not really working out that well. You see, you'll run out of money and friends and everything real quickly if you live by the motto, even Colombian drug lords' children have to eat. You try that for a while. See how that works out for you. All right? Did you like that, Larney? Well, I thought I was doing something good, you know. So anyway, a couple of weeks later, I called Daryl after this beautiful woman gently and lovingly read me the riot act, which I needed. How much time have I got, baby? I'm almost through. So I met Daryl in Dallas, Texas. He flew from Austin. We met at DFW. And he shepherded me and held my hand out here. And on that limo drive, I'll never forget, I went over to do a episode of Family Feud or something that were way over in Burbank. And then we came back in the limo, and just as we pulled into the care unit in Tustin, I said, well, let me tell you one thing, Coach. I'm going to quit that cocaine, but nobody's going to tell me I can't have a beer every now and then with Mexican food. He very quietly said, why don't you just let the experts tell you what you ought to do? One time, a different story. When I first met Daryl, he had about a 15-foot putt to beat me out of $5. And I'd only known him about a year. That's when I still called him Coach. Instead, we got a friend to be Daryl. So he gets over this putt. And I said, Coach, you're about to beat me out of $5 if you make that. I said, is it okay for me to root against you and hope you don't make that putt and you lose? He said, let me tell you something, kid. I didn't get in the Hall of Fame by rooting for them other sumbitches. That's how he got in the Hall of Fame, and by saying wise things like, kid, why don't you let the experts tell you what you ought to do? All right, we got out of the limo. I had my guitar, had a suitcase. I walked in, and down the hallway, that little wall, that little thing, what was it? It was kind of like, it was a prance. It was it was a Yugoslavian prance. That's what it was. So he came up and he said, how are you, Letty? Good to see you again. I said, Dr. Pursch, have we met? He said, yes, but you were too drunk to remember it. You're in the right place. He said, oh, I see you have your guitar. I said, would you bring that tomorrow to our session? So I went, I said, yes, said goodbye to Daryl, went to my room. The room didn't have a shower. Torqued me off. So I slept. There was this guy listening to a boombox next to me. I couldn't sleep on it. I got up, went down to that place the next morning, walked down there, and they gave us these little house shoe things, remember, and this gown thing. But the little house shoes, well, they were not house shoes. They were we used to call them thongs. Now, that's a different thing, I know, than, you know what I'm saying? But a friend of mine had a pair of them. He called them go-aheads. I said, why you call that? He said, well, hell, you can't back up in them. If you do, you're out of the suckers. So anyway, I went up there to that nurse. I said, hey, I can afford a better room. I want a room with a shower in it. She said, Mr. Gatlin, the showers are right down there. I said, you don't understand. Last night I was in the presidential suite at the Blackstone Hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. I can afford a suite. I'm a star. I want a room with a shower in it. She said, Mr. Gatlin, you're not a star in here. You're just a drug addict like everybody else. The shower's down there. And I just went and sickled right on down. Dr. Joe taught her real well, didn't he? So the next day, or that day after my shower, I took my guitar because he'd asked me to. I thought, this is going to be a piece of cake. He's a big fan. I'm going to sing him some songs. We're going to talk a little bit about Jesus or God or something. I don't know. And this is going to be all right. You're going to do little steps or something, and we're going to be all right. So I knocked on his door, and I walked in there with my guitar. He said, good. I see you brought my guitar. And I sat down and kind of started tuning it. He said, let me have it, please. I said, what? Let me have it, please. You won't be needing it for the next 27 days. I said, but Doc. He said, no. I want you to really cry if you feel like crying. He said, playing your guitar is the way you cry now. And I want you to cry for real. I handed it to him. He said, well, what's going on with you? I said, well, I got some problems with drugs and alcohol. And he said, Larry, your problem is not drugs and alcohol. Your problem is Larry. You're a horse's ass. I thought to myself, this is going well. First, I get chewed out by, Nurse Ratchet about where the damn shower is. Well, I stayed my 27 days, and over the next few years, and I confess, didn't see Dr. Joe for quite a while. The brothers and I kind of don't come to California very much. We don't have enough ammo. I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot. But he used to come to the concerts and the symphony and that place over there, that country, Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse. And then we'd go out to eat at the Crab Cooker. I never was at this place. But I'd like to say that, yes, all I owe him, John, is my life. As do a lot of people in this room. So what I would say to my old friend, and I didn't see him for a while. Doc, go find the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, as I choose to call my higher power, and tell them how much you mean to me and how much I love you. And then go find my mom and daddy, and they'll tell you how much they love you too. All they owe you is their son's life. I'm grateful. I'll see you when I do, pal.
Thank you, Larry.